you are not the niche. When people say you are the niche, what they're referring to is that you should talk about your interests. You should talk about your hobbies. You should talk about everything that you do. You should talk about the things that are really wide appealing, and that's your top of funnel content. And then the middle of funnel content is the stuff that you're kind of good at. And then the bottom of funnel, the stuff that's not going to get views, the stuff that's going to suck, is what you're an expert in, the stuff that makes you money. And I say that. The reason I say that is because if you look at someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, before he got to being Gary V, where Gary V, he talks about parenting, he talks about NFTs, he talks about AI, he talks about social. He spoke to wine owners for 8 years, or the wine industry for 8 years. You look at Alex Hormozi, another successful entrepreneur, who he now talks about all things business, but he talked about, or he spoke to gym owners for 6 years.
So let me just give you a quick rundown of, this is like me. I can't even remember what year this is. I would say 2 years ago, max. But I'm just on Instagram. This guy comes up, starts dropping gems about social media. And I'm just like, this is some good stuff. So of course I hit the, giving the notifications, when a new reel pops up, so that way I can get some of this knowledge. And when I tell you, you have been such a wellspring of knowledge, resources, and just practical insight. And then I took some time to kind of dive into your story a little bit. And I was like, you know what? When I relaunch my podcast, this is one person that I have to talk to, because your story is quite remarkable. Like, remarkable in the sense that you have taken leaps, you've taken risks, you decided to dive in, build your own brand. And I love how you are just telling your story so honestly along the way. And it is truly an honor to have you on the podcast today. So without further ado, let's just jump into your philosophy about being one video away. What does that mean to you now that you have lived that?
Man, first I just want to say thank you for having me. It is an honor to be with you. And for the person listening to us or watching us, it is an honor to be with them, because number one, you could be doing anything with your time. And the fact that you chose to listen to even a second of this is something that I can't thank you enough for. So that's first and foremost. Yeah, I mean, man, one video away is, it's my entire life. Like, when you talk about philosophy with it, I am a byproduct of what one video can do for you, right? And one video for me was Gary Vaynerchuk, who made a video that when I was in college, I completely hated being the path of being a doctor. And it was after chemistry lab, and I saw this video from him, and it said, I'd rather you spend the next 2 to 3 years not pleasing your parents, doing what you want to do, versus the next 80 years resenting them because you did what they wanted you to do.
Yeah.
And that right there for me alone, I was like, that's me. And I'm like, I'm doing this doctor thing because of my dad. Because that's what my dad wants me to do, right? Like the prestige, the accolade, the salary, like it's predictable, it's comfortable. And it, from someone who, like, my father's an immigrant from Italy, like that's a really respectable thing. And being that I'm the firstborn child in my family, like I am the first grandson, the first nephew, the first, like I am the pillars. So it's like, it's already a lot of expectation of like, you're going to be the chosen one to be the doctor. But then to have everybody else kind of be on board with that in your family, within your family's friends, like they know that you're going to be Enrico the doctor. And that's what I was always referred to, even at like 16 years old.
Wow.
Right. And when I was 17, I got my certified nursing assistant license. I was a CNA and I was working in a nursing home. So it's like my path had already been charted for me. It had already been like predicted for me without really having much say. Cause it's like, this is where you're going to go to college. This is where you're going to go to med school. This is where you're going to go, like everything. Right. And it's like, holy cow, And so when I saw that video, I'm like, that it just clicked. You know what I mean? And so even for the person listening right now, like maybe that might have hit with you, like wherever you are, like maybe you're doing something right now where it's for your parents or for someone else, but like internally it just doesn't feel right. And I just want to say too, like before we continue, like you're never too late to completely hit the, what I call the Uno reverse of like, do a U-turn, like go a completely different direction. Like you're never too late for that. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, I literally do not care. Right. And I'm glad and I'm grateful that I learned that early on. Again, just this whole byproduct of being one video away, that set everything off for me. Like that was an entire chain reaction for everything. And it was that moment that I'm like, all right, I don't want to do this anymore. And I had to go tell my guidance counselor at the time that I'm going to default to a communications major, no longer going to be in med school, no longer on the track to being in med school because I was in pre-med, and had to figure it out. And that was for me the lowest part of my life.
What was the conversation like with your dad?
Being that I told you my father's an immigrant from Italy, my father came to this country with like $2,000 and made a life for himself. He's a fantastic entrepreneur, super successful with multiple businesses. He does incredibly well. But then at the time when I had to tell him this, it was very, and this is someone from, like I said, my father's from Italy, where he's just like, cool. So now what? Right? Like the hand gestures of like, what do you mean you're not going to be a doctor? Like, what does this mean? And let me be clear too. When I'm telling him, hey, someone on the internet that I saw is saying that I'm going to resent you, at the time, it wasn't as like accepted. If I were to tell my dad that now, my dad's tapped into TikTok, IG, YouTube, he gets it. But if I were to tell him that now, he'd be like, or then it's just more of like you're going to leave medical school because some guy said this. I'm like, yeah. And so I told him and I said, let me figure it out for the next 1 to 2 years. I said, I don't have the answer, but I said, let me figure it out. And as any parent rightfully would say, well, why should we keep you in college? We're spending all this money. What are we going to keep you in college for? I said, I totally respect that. I said, just at least give me a year. Let me figure it out. I don't have the answer to that yet, but let me just figure out what that is. And let me be clear. It was really weird with my dad and I for 2 to 3 years, which Gary was spot on. Like it was that weird part of like, you could just go back to school and be a doctor. You could just live up to what I want you to be. But it's like, let me just figure it out. I don't have that answer yet, but let me just go do my thing.
Now, did you end up graduating or did you quit altogether? I can't remember.
So I'll, do you want me to just kind of like riff on like the whole thing?
Sure.
Great. So what I'd love to just start with is I did not drop out of school yet. So like I said, I defaulted to a communications major, and along the way, like I mentioned, it was my worst part of my life. Like I attempted suicide, worst part of my life. Like that's why I have this tattoo that says forza, because in Italian it means strength. And I felt like I had lost all sense of identity at the age of 19, 20 years old.
Wow.
Because I'm like, no matter what I will do, I'm like, Mark, I will never be able to live up to my father's expectations or my family. Like nothing I will ever do. And it just felt so heavy in the moment because I'm like, I had all this going for me. And there was that voice in my head that was just kind of tempting of like, man, you really messed it up. But the beautiful thing that I learned and that I kept reminding myself was that if you don't know what you want, it's okay. At least you know what you don't want. Right. And as hard as it is, it's just like, got to keep reminding yourself of that. And so once I made that decision, like I said, I defaulted to communications major. And the biggest thing for me during that time was really picking up fitness, was prioritizing, okay, what can I really control, right? I can control what I put in my body, what I'm eating, my output in the gym, like these, what I consider these BS communication classes. For me, I was just like, it was just kind of getting through because I just needed to buy time. And again, as you get into, a certain hobby or a niche or something that interests you, you start to get curious. You start to go online. You're like, okay, are there other people that kind of do this thing? And for me, like I said, it was fitness. And I really gravitated towards YouTube and other people in the fitness space like Steve Cook, Christian Guzman, which again, if you're not familiar with these people, totally cool. But they were people that were really massive pillars for me because they were doing the things that I wanted to start doing, right? Like it was appealing that Christian Guzman, he's someone who lives in Houston, Texas. He built massive gym, Alpha Elite Athletics. If you're interested, you can go look it up. And he was just someone that for me, like he left college and he built his own thing all through YouTube, all through making content. And I'm like, oh, this is something that's possible. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? I'm learning about something that I'm interested in through someone on the other end of the phone or on the other end of the laptop that I have not met yet, but I feel like I know everything about them. That's cool, right? And that for me became a really big anchor to just stick with things and to just continue to move forward. And the reason I bring up Christian is because it was the year of 2017. And he was hosting what was called Summer Shredding, which was a 90-day challenge where from March to June, you would try to get as lean as possible, as shredded as possible. And at the end, you would go down to his gym in Houston and everybody would like hang out, celebrate, because you kind of did it as like this communal thing. And so it was a really big invitation from him for his audience and for people that followed. So I participated in it. And at the end of the whole journey, I flew down to Houston with a couple of buddies of mine, and I got to meet Christian. I got to meet all these other people that I started following and started getting connected with. And there was one person in particular that I met by the name of Zach Rushlow, who is the Flexible Dieting Lifestyle. And I was able to meet him there. And we just exchanged pleasantries because I had followed him and I had known who he was. And for those of you who are listening that you may not know who he is, Zach is someone who makes macro-friendly recipes. So they're either lower calorie or they're higher in protein to help you hit your goals without sacrificing taste. And so we connected and I flew back home to Chicago. And during that time, I actually had to get hip surgery because I tore my hip labral while I was squatting at the gym a year prior. And so I finally addressed it. And there's a reason I'm telling you this because it's important. So a week or two goes by and Zach posted on his Instagram story that he was looking for a videographer to join him in Los Angeles to come film with him. And let me be clear. I have never filmed someone ever in my life, but what I was doing during this time while I was in communications classes, like doing the summer shredding, I was vlogging myself. Right? Like I was just documenting on Snapchat and then I moved to like YouTube. I bought myself a little GoPro camera, but like, I'm like, oh, I want to do this. Right? And I had only ever filmed myself. And Zach then responded back to me, or sorry, I responded to Zach's story saying that I wanted in on this. And he's like, cool. There's two people ahead of you. Why should I choose you? They're way more experienced. And I'm like, totally fair. I said, I will work harder than both of them combined. And he's like, okay. He's like, can you find a way to Los Angeles? I said, yep. Let me be clear. I am not even a week removed from surgery where I have crutches and I'm in physical therapy. I have an entire brace thing on my hip. I should be in no place to be even driving and sitting for extended periods of time or flying. And I didn't tell him this. Mm-hmm. And so I just said, yep. I flew to LA for 5 days. And the day that I showed up, I remember this vividly. It was the rental car company Sixt, S-I-X-T. And I show up there because I had to take a shuttle from the airport to there. And I'm on my crutches with like my camera, yada, yada. And he pulls up. He's like, bro, what happened? I'm like, I just had hip surgery. I said, do not ask about it. Don't worry. I'm not going to make an excuse about it. I will work through it. I'm fine. He's like, are you going to be okay? I'm like, bro, I promise you, I'll be good. Like, I'm so stoked to be here. And so filmed him for 5 days, flew back home to Chicago, and that turned into an internship where I ultimately, to your question, Mark, I decided to leave school with a year left, and I moved from Chicago to Austin, Texas to work with him for the next year. And again, I was able to, we lived together. So I was like literally in-house videographer. But I was able to learn so much, meet so many other people. And after my time with Zach, I went back home to Chicago. And it's interesting when I tell this story because a big theme, and I actually just gave a talk on this last week in Austin. I've had to like embrace and yet shed multiple identities with this, right? Like I was supposed to be Enrico the doctor, and then now I'm lost, not knowing what to do. And now here I am being Zach's videographer. And then I move back home and I'm like, well, what am I doing now? I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And I got a part-time job at Whole Foods. I worked at a car dealership to like do photos. And I'm like, I guess this is what I'm doing. And then there was that voice that crept back in of like, just go back to school. Why don't you go back to pursuing to be a doctor? And, but there was something to me that I'm like, no, I'm like, it's not what I want. And it's crazy because later that year, I actually received a message from someone by the name of Jordan Syatt. And at the time, he was Gary Vaynerchuk's personal trainer. He and I met, like I said, I met a lot of people when I worked with Zach. He and I met at an event in Los Angeles for a separate event that was hosted by Lewis Howes. It was a Pencils of Promise event. And it's all connected, which is all super weird. And so he and I connected then. But now it's around summer of 2018 because I moved back. I worked with Zach for about a year from 2017 to 2018. And Jordan put on his Instagram story that he was looking for a videographer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this would be perfect. I'm like, I want in. And so I replied because we had met and I'm like, I'm for sure going to get this. And he's like, hey bro, there's a guy in front of you. And if it doesn't work out within 90 days, I will call you. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, okay, fine. And so the 90 days goes by. I'm at the gym at Lifetime Fitness and I'm doing the Stairmaster, just gassed. And I'm on the Stairmaster and I'm like, working. And I see on my phone that I get a call from him. It's like, it says Jordan Syatt. And I'm like, what is he calling me for? And I answer, I pick up. He's like, yo, bro. I'm like, yo. He's like, you want to move to New York City? I'm like, yup. He's like, okay. He's like, do you want to think about it? I'm like, no. I'm like, well, I don't need to think. I'm like, let's do it. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, we can and then we literally figured out salary there on the call. He's like, oh, okay, man. He's like, do you want to come in 2 weeks and just kick it? I'm like, yep. So 2 weeks went by and I went to New York City for the first time in my life, hung out with him for a week. And then the week after that, I moved my entire life with just 2 suitcases and everything I had and moved into a Chinatown apartment in New York City with 6 other roommates. Paying $1,100 a month for a room half of my office size right now.
Gotta love New York.
but oh, dude, it's a different beast. But man, the coolest part was the morning Jordan texted me. He's like, hey, bro, do you want to come train Gary with me? I'm like, yes. And so I went to Gary Vaynerchuk's apartment. And man, the first time I met Gary, when he came out of the elevator, he dapped me up as if we were as if we'd known each other. And Mark, I'm like, for the first time in my life, did I realize, I'm like, this social media thing really works. I'm like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for his video in the first place that told me, I'd rather you spend the next 2 to 3 years doing what you want to do, not pleasing your parents versus the next 80 resenting them. And I'm like, this is the essence of one video away for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, bro, being in front of him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be here. And I still get chills thinking about it. And it still makes me emotional because I'm like, this is the power that social media has. Mm-hmm. And it's cool because I worked with Jordan for 2 years and then started my own videography and photography business, video editing too, worked with a few clients, got offered multiple 6-figure opportunities. Actually, I forgot to mention one thing that I was offered while I was working with Jordan was a position to work for Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. And I declined it.
I was going to get there.
and I declined it because at the time I'm like, I want to work with Jordan. And I respectfully said I can help, refer someone. But then, after all that time and doing my own thing, now I have my own consulting and now I have my own program, One Video Away. But then now I work with other 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs and 7-figure entrepreneurs and 6-figure. And it's an 8-year journey that has allowed me to be in a position where I'm at right now, where I'm so grateful that I get to be literally the director of content for the #1 podcast in the world right now. And it's cool, man, because this whole 8-year journey, as condensed as I made it and as I try to make it as concise, most people I think get frustrated because whatever it is you're trying to do, it's not working fast enough. It's not happening quick enough. And I'm like, if you just expand your timeline a little bit with all this, it will happen, just not yet. And that's the essence for me why one video is so powerful, because I know the power that it's had for my life. And I know the power that it can have for other people's lives, whether it's the people that you're trying to attract, what it can do for them, or for yourself, what it can do for your life and your business.
I'm really, number one, thank you so much for just sharing your story so openly and so freely. I'm really interested, not necessarily in the high profile nature of certain people that might have reached out and said, hey, we'd like for you to work for us, either sometimes work with us. I feel like a lot of influencers or creators, they get on this track where they start attracting offers, and you're kind of having to make this decision. Do I accept this offer? Because obviously, I mean, for some, it's like, hey, I need the money, but you are at this crossroad where you have to really dive into that identity piece, because you've had to get over, okay, I'm not the doctor anymore. I'm not this person's videographer anymore. But what happens when you get an offer that is somewhat aligned with what you want to do, but it's not really the right timing? Or while you have the skills and you can do it, it may not be something that you should do because of what you're trying to build. Like, how did you navigate that whole era?
I think it's just continuing to, like I said, when you have that like internal compass of like, no, this is what I want. And I'm always heat checking myself. I'm always like in your gut, is this what you want to do? Like in your gut, is this what's going to advance you forward? In your gut, is this the move that in 10 years from now, you'll be happy you did it? And for me, man, and I know this sounds really blunt, if it's not a hell yes for me, it's a no. If there's an opportunity for me where at that moment, it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Because let me be abundantly clear. When Stephen Bartlett's team reached out to me, could I have done it? Probably. But I don't think I was ready enough yet for that opportunity. Like I think I could have probably done a good enough job. But I think from the perspective of like working with Jordan was really my first time that I've like accelerated my growth. And I think when all these opportunities come, I think it's just more of like, again, it wasn't a hell yes for me. The hell yes for me was working with Jordan. The hell yes was this opportunity right now because this is what's in front of me. And I've said no to a lot of people, a lot of higher profile people too, because I'm like, it's just, I'm like, that would be cool. Like to be able to say that. But I'm like, it's just not what I want. It's not. And I have to constantly ask myself, like, Enrico, where do you want to be in 10 years from now? I'm always trying to answer to I'm 29, to the 39-year-old version of me, right? When you're 39 right now and you look back on those past 10 years, all the moves you made, are you going to be happy about them? Are they going to advance you forward? Are they going to add to your life? Or are they going to take away? And so for me, it's just, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
What was the hardest no you had to give?
To my father. The hardest no in my life was to my father, and everything else after that has been a piece of cake. Because I think I've realized that, and for most people, sometimes the hardest person we have to answer to, yes, is ourselves, but it's sometimes to the people closest to us because we don't want them to be upset with us, right? Like, I don't want my mom to be upset at me. I don't want my father to be upset at me. But it's like, cool. Well, in 80 years from now, though, like, will that matter? Maybe not to them as much, but to you, certainly. And I've never wanted to live my life in a way that when I'm 90, when I'm 100 years old, that I'm like, damn it, I wish I did that. Because I want to be able to be like, no, I did do that. I at least tried, or at least made it work somehow, some way. And so for me, the hardest thing that I had to say no to was my father's dream of me. And I think oftentimes when we eliminate the expectations that other people have of us, and we kind of give ourselves permission with being okay with letting them down, like, they're an adult, they'll get over it, they'll work through it. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is exactly where I'm at right now. Where for me, it's like, it's been an 8-year journey, but now my dad finally understands a little. He still doesn't fully get it, but he has an understanding now of like, oh, like, you're really good at what you do. And like, you're really like valued by a lot of people like that. And he's like, that's cool. And so I think for him to see that visually, like when he comes to certain things, I think it just paints a picture a little bit more for him of like, oh, this is what you do, to the scope, to the magnitude of it. But again, man, like the hardest thing was just saying no to my dad's dream of me and letting that die. And everything else has just been easy. Like anyone that would reach out to me, it's just, I don't lose sleep over it because I did the hardest thing in my life ever.
Now, do you feel like, I'm thinking through like, yeah, you can say no, but sometimes just casually in conversation, especially to people that have been acquainted with an earlier version or an earlier identity that you've had, what is that conversation like when you're describing, when someone asks like, so what are you up to? What are you doing? Do you have that same confidence that you have when you're accepting an offer to move across the country at a moment's notice? Or is there a certain level of hesitation or figuring it out that you've had to do to describe what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're working on, what your life looks like?
Which part do you want me to answer there?
First, I think, how do you describe that season of life that you're in to those people that are around?
Yeah. Well, number one, I would say to them that I'm working with people who are making really big impact in the world, in a sense of like, they have large podcasts, they want to grow their audience. And my whole thing that I'm like preaching to people is that my entire goal is that I am building other people's content machines on social, and I am building the life that they want through social, and I'm giving them that. And I know most people who probably don't get it won't understand. Totally cool. A lot of people in my life do understand, and they do get it. And so I think as social like has become more accepted, like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, like people know about these platforms. They may not know how they work, but they know that there's people out there creating success on them. And so if I would have said this 10 years ago, then it's like, so you don't have a job, right? But now it's more of like, no, being someone on social, being a creator, being an entrepreneur is a lot more accepted, because I think there's a lot more people doing that. And so for me, I just explained it simply, where it's like, well, what do you do? Well, I help other businesses make more money through social media, right? That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm helping them do. And whether that's helping them drive more traffic, whether that's helping them drive more eyeballs, like whatever that is. Like, for example, this is a great question. My soon-to-be father-in-law, he kind of struggles with this because he's very like person to person. He's in HVAC, and so he's very like one-to-one conversation, and he has a hard time conceptualizing like, oh, this person has 10 million followers. What does that mean? And so for me, it's like, I love having that conversation with him, because it's like, well, I want you to imagine that, you have a billboard, right? Because for him, that's what he knows too, of like, you have a billboard on the highway. Now imagine you have 10 million people going by that every time that you post something, right? Every time you share something, like you get that type of opportunity, right? So it's just marketing, but online. And it's interesting to be able to describe that to him, because I think some people still have a hard time grasping that. Like, even my father sometimes, or my mom sometimes has a hard time, but it's just being like, hey, people have a business on social, or they have a business and they want to use social media. They want to use these platforms to communicate whatever it is that they do so that they can make more money with their business.
Do you feel like that period where you took that bet on yourself, because if I understand your story correctly, you got engaged, then moved to Texas, the Dallas area, right?
I'm in Dallas. We are not engaged yet, my girlfriend and I, but we've been together for almost 4 years now.
My bad.
It's all good. It's all good.
Made up a proposal.
It's all good.
Okay, let me back it up. All right. So you're in Texas. You're deciding to build your own empire, essentially. What is it like when you're betting on yourself? Because obviously, you're no stranger to moving, but it's like, look, it's on you. Like, you got to make this happen. What was the early stage of building this business? Did you feel like you already had such great relationships that you were able to hit the ground running? Or was there like an adjustment period where you were having feast and famine from month to month?
Well, that's a great question. End of 2021 when we moved to Dallas. So I was living back home in Chicago with my dad, and then kind of dipping my toe into like where my girlfriend was. She was in Stamford, Connecticut, and then we decided to just move to Dallas here. And so late 2021, that's when I first started making content that was about like social strategy or like hooks or just trying to talk about these things that I knew, but I didn't know how to articulate it with a message. And I was still editing for people. I was still filming for a client. I was still doing a lot of those things as I made that transition. But then there came a point where I'm like, I'm just so sick of editing. I'm tired of spending my time behind a computer. I'm like, I'm great on camera. I love being front facing. And it was like 2022, 23 when I really went all in on my own brand. And I'm still editing, still filming for people because that's what they knew me as, especially the people that had followed me. But then as I started to grow around doing social strategy, doing content marketing, doing content strategy, it's been pretty tough from the perspective of I have to fully embrace this new identity because yeah, I'm not filming for someone anymore or whatever, but like I'm still editing. I'm still kind of having that grasp of like, this is what I do. And it's only been 2 years that I haven't edited for anyone.
Wow.
And so this is still like very new to me, but also not because I'm very comfortable with what I do, what I talk about, the people that I help. And so it was tough because my girlfriend always reminds me that like there were days I would lay in bed. I don't want to get out because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Even 2 years ago, like, I'm like, no one's going to care. I'm like, I sound stupid. Other people are probably running laps around me. Other people sound better with what I do. I'm like, yeah, I've worked for so-and-so, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, no one's going to care. And you have to go through that a little bit because then you're faced with, cool, so now what? Right? Like, do you want to just continue feeling that way? Or do you want to just continue to show up even if it's really messy and like you look like you have no idea what you're doing, and just continue to refine? And that's all I've done is like, I've just looked at content. And what I do is I'm going to just take messy action and just do it. And even if it doesn't sound right, I've had spelling errors. I've looked at videos that I've done a year or two ago. I'm like, what were you even doing? And I'm like, now I look at it of like, I can have a way more concise message. I can be a lot more clear, more articulate. Now I'm a lot more critical of watch time, of all this stuff with like it within my content. But like, I couldn't have got to where I'm at now without being hypercritical with all the stuff that I was posting. And I give myself some grace because it's like, you know, I had people reach out and I started my own like one-on-one coaching program for just coaching people with social. And that was when I had like my first really big testimonial from someone who I helped her grow from 60K to 1.5 million. And I'm like, I do know what I'm doing. And I needed that like proof of concept to show of like, wow, like I literally changed her life with helping her there. And so for me, it's like, I just did the damn thing and felt like I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm like, but the content you're making, like people are still gravitating towards you. Like literally there was a 9-figure company that reached out to me and he's like, can you come to our headquarters in Texas, like, and help us with whatever? And I'm like, sure. And it's like, again, I'm really hard on where I'm at right now because I feel like I have more of a microscope of other people who like watch and look at me. But from the perspective of, I just want to put out the best stuff that I can. I want to be as large as I can. I want to help as many people as I can. And for me, that's my driving factor of like, you know, give yourself some grace because like you figured it out. It was really sloppy. It was really messy and it was really hard. But like, just know that the alternative for you is that you could just lay in bed and do fucking nothing.
Right.
And that's also an option. And I'm like, but then again, having that conversation where I'm like 39-year-old Enrico, I'm like, I wouldn't be proud doing that. And so there's days where I'm really frustrated. There's days where I feel like this morning, right before we got on here, like we were working on a cheat sheet for a video that I'm posting. And I'm like, I think it sucks. I hate it. I'm like, I need to redo it. And it's like, that's going to happen. But yeah, it's just a whole journey with it.
Speaking of journeys, we got to talk about your journey to get those Oreos that you posted the other day.
Yes.
But before we get there, I want to talk through the idea. One, because if I'm not mistaken, you work and collaborate with your girlfriend right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's like I just want to get the idea of like how you handle work-life balance and trying to scale your business. I'm just assuming, you don't have to confirm or deny. All right. But let's just paint an alleged picture. One, it takes a whole lot of capacity to build a business as a solopreneur. Obviously, you are working for the #1 podcast right now. So that's another bucket of energy that you're expelling. Then you've got to be forward thinking. So that's a lot of output. Then you've got to figure out, okay, well, how do we work on the business and not just in the business? So then that's a whole other host of conversations. And the person that you're doing all this with happens to be your partner. Does it ever? And then you've got to like actually have time for yourself. You got to like, you're passionate about fitness, all the above. Like, how in the world do you compartmentalize? If you do, what does that look like? And it's not to say that you have figured it out or have it all together, but what have been the wins that you've made with navigating that? And what have been some learning opportunities that you've had with navigating?
I think, and not I think, it's not even a win. It's just a complete life-changing thing for me is, her name's Melissa. Having someone like her in my life has completely revolutionized everything for me, because I wouldn't be half of where I'm at today within the last 4 years if it weren't for her. And I say that because having a partner who pushes you and believes in your dreams more than you do at times is a lethal weapon that I can't underscore enough. And she's also someone who gets it. She is also someone that like is on my ass with things, and I respect the shit out of that. And I like she commands more from me, and vice versa. I also command more from her. And like, I think we do a great job of having a yin and yang with that. And like, I know that there's times where like, yes, like we can probably like, we've never really had an argument. And like, you'd think we live together, we do everything together, that like we'd be sick of each other. But like, it's just never the case for me, because I couldn't imagine doing life without her. And I think for me too, it's like, I've also had to have patience with myself and understanding like, okay, if I'm getting frustrated about something that we're working on, I'm like, why am I getting mad at myself? Why, and why am I like, why is that coming out in a way that's like being expressed to her in a way of like being frustrated or mad about something? And more so looking internally with like, no, you're frazzled right now. You feel like you're spread too thin. And so that's where that's coming from. And we've also been really good with like having very open communication about everything. There's times where I don't really communicate how I'm feeling about stuff. Or if I'm like this morning, I'm like, I feel like I'm really spread too thin. I'm like, I just feel very frustrated. I feel like life's a mess right now with things. And so that manifests in just me being short and me being really upset. And I'm like, I just need to take a beat, but like communicate that. Because for me, if I held that in, it would manifest into something on Sunday that shouldn't come out in a pleasant way. And vice versa for your partner, because you hold that resentment. And so it's like, I'm just going to nip it in the ass right away. This is the problem. This is what I'm feeling right now. And like, whether I need space or whether I need to work through it, whatever it is, like just communicating that. But to your point, because you asked something really interesting. How do you balance work-life balance? And for me, I don't believe in that. I think you go into seasons. I think there's seasons where you need to push. There's seasons where you need to be in growth. There's seasons where you need to be in like, we're working on the business instead of in it as much. For me, 2026 is going to be a very scary, lethal year of like, I am going fully like gas pedal with everything. and a little bit within 2025. But just because that's when I'm like, I want my own videographer, want my own team, I want my own space, like podcast space, I want my own office, like that whole type of ordeal. Cause I'm like, I'm gunning for it. And we've had that conversation.
Yes.
And I really communicated with her, and like we've communicated together where it's like, this is what we want. And like, we want to get engaged. We want to get married. We want to have children. But I'm like, I want to go for it so that I can set our family up for success and we can do this together. This isn't a me thing. Like, she is my life with stuff. And like, you have to do it together. And so that's why I said, I'm like, I'm so grateful to have a partner like her, because I couldn't be where I'm at whatsoever. And just being able to know that like there are seasons where we have to be in growth, but then there are also micro seasons where it's like, we'll watch the show Peaky Blinders on Netflix 2 episodes in a row and just chill. We'll watch The Office and we'll have dinner, or we'll have a working dinner. And while we're watching The Office or the NBA Finals, we'll work through content. Like last night, like we were watching the finals, and like we were planning out content for next week, the week after that, and just like thinking about things, right? And so it's like, again, I can't underscore that enough with having a partner who supports your goals and dreams and wants to do that with you. But then also I want to support her goals and dreams too, right? Because her and her sister, they have their own business too. And like, she's kind of like helping me part-time almost. And so it's like, you know, wanting that yin and yang, wanting that like equal exchange of energy, I think is vastly underrated. And so finding someone too, and I know it's hard, that supports your goals and that you support theirs as much. I think it is the scariest weapon you could ever have.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think I don't know if I would have, well, it's not even, I don't know. I would not have the career that I've had without such a supportive wife. And we're talking like putting our family in the middle of career decisions that I've had to make when it comes to like moving across the country. Even, you know, I consider myself to have my dream job now. I was burnt out before I was even ready to look for it. And she was like, look, I'll handle the application for you. She just knows what to do, when to do it. And I'm with you. There's nothing like having, in my case, like Charmaine is her name. And I can't imagine what my life would be like without somebody who gets it. It's like, yeah, you can have a great life, but to have that added layer of partnership with somebody who gets it, there's just no comparison. Now, before we get to these Oreos, I just want to hear you riff, because like you have this pace when you like get in the zone that's like really cool. And so I want you to riff for a few moments for somebody listening who is consuming a whole lot of content about social media. They're listening to all the gurus and they are receiving the worst advice and trying to apply it. In your experience, what is the worst advice that people are taking when they're listening to so-called experts on social media?
The worst advice on social media right now is you are the niche. You are not the niche. When people say you are the niche, what they're referring to is that you should talk about your interests. You should talk about your hobbies. You should talk about everything that you do. You should talk about the things that are really wide appealing, and that's your top of funnel content. And then the middle of funnel content is the stuff that you're kind of good at. And then the bottom of funnel, the stuff that's not going to get views, the stuff that's going to suck, is what you're an expert in, the stuff that makes you money. And I say that. The reason I say that is because if you look at someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, before he got to being Gary V, where Gary V, he talks about parenting, he talks about NFTs, he talks about AI, he talks about social. He spoke to wine owners for 8 years, or the wine industry for 8 years. You look at Alex Hormozy, another successful entrepreneur, who he now talks about all things business, but he talked about, or he spoke to gym owners for 6 years. And here's what's the craziest part too. I have a video coming out too that I'm going to drop where Hormozy actually talked about how when he went wider with his content, when he talked about going to the gas station and how can you find 80 grams of protein at the gas station because he's a jack dude, when he talked about comedy things, when he talked about all this, he was making less money. Yeah, he was getting a lot more views because it was just more outlandish stuff. But he's like, the thing that we wanted to happen where we wanted people to come into our portfolio as a company was not happening. And so he said, we need to shift everything to back to business is what he called it. We need to just speak on this. And he's like, well, then when we did that, like, yeah, things were a little bit lower, but we got the result that we wanted that helped move the needle in the business. And here's what I'll say. The people that say you are the niche, they only give this advice once they've built an audience after speaking to a niche for an extended period of time. Because the one thing that people forget, Mark, is this. People will not care about you until they know you care about them. Right? You will not care about me with my Oreos or my love for aviation until you know that I can prove that I can help you with social media, because that's a problem you have, right? And, or whether that's fitness or real estate or financial, whatever it is, like if I'm going to follow a tax strategist, you better damn well be prepared to help me save $10,000 on taxes in 2026. Now I'll care about your love for Porsche. Now I'll care that you have a Corvette. Now I'll care that you have a love for plants. I don't know. But like, I have a problem. I'm going to you with something. Fix it. Solve it for me. And so the worst advice right now that most people are consuming is this whole you are the niche thing. You're not the niche, my friend. The niche is the audience that you serve. Speak to them, because people need to know that you care about them before they will ever care about you. And if there's one thing that you take away from this is this. I spoke about before with the you are the niche that, like, you know, the content that you should make 10% of the time is the stuff that brings you in money. Well, if that's the stuff that's bringing you in money, why don't you make 100% of that content? The reason being is because a lot of people on social media that want to help you grow, it's because they suck at helping you package that content to make it interesting. You can make the content that really grows your business a lot more interesting than you're probably making it right now. You can have it get a lot more reach than you're probably getting right now. And so anyone who tells you this is coming from a place of just wanting to get you views that I call phantom views, because they do nothing for you. They don't. Sure, it might look good on the front end, but then on the back end, when you're like, oh, I'm checking the bank account, we didn't get any clients today. Huh. Cool. So maybe talking about all this stuff doesn't really matter. Because Mark, I look at it from this perspective. If I go into a tire shop, because I need to get new tires on my car, I want tires. If I'm going into a tire shop that also sells me mugs, they also sell me coffee, they also sell me water, they sell me a bunch of different products. What am I buying? Like, I'm like, wait, why did I come here again? And so I look at the exact same thing with your social media page. If your page is confusing, and if I'm landing on the home profile of your page, I call this the 12 post test. If the last 12 posts that you've made, I have no clue what you do or who you are, I'm gone. I'm not going to follow you. And damn it, why would I even buy from you? And so that's something that you really, really need to start looking at is if you're doing this where you're kind of talking about a charcuterie board of everything, you're going to attract no one, right? Like, you need to be specific with who you're talking to, and that is your niche. Because the one thing, Mark, that most people struggle with when they wake up in the morning, they're like, what do I post today? I have no idea what to post today. You're asking the wrong question. You should be asking, well, what am I solving today? What problem am I solving today? Who am I helping today? Because the one thing that people struggle with above all else, and if they fix this, it would solve 99% of the problems that they have, is who is the person you are talking to on the other side of the phone, on the other side of the headphone for a podcast, on the other side of the video for a YouTube video, whatever it is. Who is that person? And I'm not talking surface level stuff where it's like, oh, I want to help. Like, I see a lot of fitness coaches where it's like, well, I help men lose 10 pounds. I don't care. Like, who is this person from the perspective of how many times do they go by the mirror and they hate how their shirt fits around their stomach? And that's an insecurity. How many times do they wear a sweater to work because they don't feel comfortable wearing a short sleeve shirt on Fridays, even though it's a casual Friday? How many times do they say yes to going to get margaritas and chips after work when they know they should go to the gym because that's the better decision? How many times do they do all of these things because that is the psychology? That is the game. The game is psychology. That is a psychological behavior happening with people that most people don't even want to look at. And if you solve for that, of who is that person, then you will win. Because the punchline to this is, when I say you need to figure out who it is you're talking to, that's your niche. That is the niche. And if you focus on talking to that one person, I can promise you there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of that exact person that is waiting for you.
Mm. Okay. So clearly, Selena Gomez was talking to you.
Yes.
When she released these limited edition Oreos. I didn't even know this was a thing. Okay. So let me just also confess, I am a recovering snacker.
Okay.
I Big Back Incorporated over here. I literally am getting my life together. I'm seeing a coach now who I have a call with at 3:00 because he's going to check in on my progress and the fact that I ain't made it to the gym all week. So I won't be getting these Selena Gomez Oreos, but talk to me about your relationship with food. And cause I just felt seen. Like, wait, I got one more here. You did this one video and you were talking about like how you made breakfast and you like made some toast and you like, I had the toast and the eggs and the this and that. You're like, I ate the bacon before I even like got up here to like finish the toast or whatever. And it just really, I love the casual nature in which you talk about your relationship with food, but also how intentional you are with fitness. So I just wanted to dive into that and understand like what are the I don't want to say the struggles, because I think like it's an ongoing thing. Like if you're in Big Backs Anonymous, it's a choice every day to choose the whole foods over junk foods. But what is it like in your shoes, somebody who's really trying to be intentional about their health and their wellness, but like you can be honest and say, man, I love a good snack all day, every day.
Yeah. So it's actually funny. Oreos became an obsession for me when I started working with Zach. So Zach, who I mentioned in the beginning of the call, who I worked with when I lived in Austin, a lot of his recipes, he would use Oreos, like a lot of the sweet recipes that he would make. And he would collect Oreos too. And so as simple as it is, like he had a lot of the limited edition Oreos and I'm like, I want to start collecting limited edition Oreos too. And so for me, it's just been an obsession with anytime Oreo drops something limited edition, I want to get my hands on it. Like I every time we go to the store, I'm like, let me just check to see if they have Oreos. The Selena Gomez ones that they just dropped, like that's been a big marketing campaign that they're really pushing for. And so like I knew they were coming out. I also have Lady Gaga ones. I have Game of Thrones ones that go for $40 a pop on eBay. I have like these Pokemon Oreos that if you find a specific Pokemon, someone sold it for $20,000 on eBay. I have 4 packs unopened.
Hold on. I didn't know this was a thing.
Oh yeah. It's a whole specific niche with like Oreos. Yes.
You just changed my life. Sorry. Keep going.
No, you're good.
I didn't know this.
You're good. Yeah, no, so I have, almost 2 freezers full of just limited edition Oreos. And what I do is when I go to the store, I used to buy 2 of them, one in case I wanted to try it, and then the other one to just save it fully. Now I buy 4 and I just save them, and I just to save them. And again, it's anything that's limited edition Oreo. And I'm trying to look around because I know I have like some Oreo mugs. I have like I know when Christmas is around, they have like these Oreo snowballs and I collect those. So anything Oreo related, I'm a massive fan of. When Oreo and Coca-Cola did that collab, I have every single item from Oreo and Coca-Cola that they made. The little mini cans, the skinny cans, the bottles. I bought the Oreo merch because I know that I'm like, this is something that in 50 years from now, there's going to be a lot of value on it. These are 2 iconic American brands in Oreo and Coca-Cola that hold value for eternity. And I know that like there will be value in that. Besides the fact, like my goal is that I eventually want to be able to sell this collection, or because I'm that crazy enough, I want to have a museum of it. Because I also like collecting limited edition snacks. Like I'm the type that I love looking at like old school snacks from like the Gatorade commercial that comes to mind when I'm like, when it was in the glass bottle, when Jordan would drink it. And I'm like, I just find that stuff so fascinating because it's like, wow, that's what it looked like then. And for me, I love that stuff, whether it's like with the Wheaties, where they do like the 100 year collection, whether it's like Simone Biles on the cover or like Jordan or whoever it is. Like I love stuff like that because it's like in 50, 60 years from now, like that holds value. And so for me, I don't really have like an obsession with eating Oreos. I just care more about collecting them.
See, maybe that's the transformation that I need. I can go from eating so many to collecting them.
Yeah. So. Yes.
All right. So last question and we're out of here. I love the fact that you shared your dream, how it's going to be all gas, no brakes in 2026. You're like, hey, we are building this thing, scaling. You're bringing on team members, have a vision for your family. So you're doing all of this. How do you know that you've gotten the win? What does your legacy look like? Not just 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Like, obviously, we don't know what this industry looks like in terms of social media, how it's going to evolve and grow. But what does your legacy look like when you are old and gray, no longer even considering the fact that you would have even thought twice about becoming the doctor and choosing the path that you have? What does that legacy look like?
For me, and this is why I know I will outlast everyone who looks like me on social media, is because my entire why behind why I do this is a lot greater than getting views, is a lot greater than getting engagement, is a lot greater than, oh, these hooks can make you go viral. Like, no, like this social media saved my life. And like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for it. And so it would be really silly of me to give up this dream and to not instill it in other people that, yeah, you are one video away. It might be your next video, might be 1,700 videos from now. But like for me, it would feel very unfulfilling if I gave up on it. And the reason I'm saying that is because I couldn't imagine doing anything else with my life. And I know for a fact that if social pivots, I will pivot. If social adapts, I will adapt. Because what's the alternative? To not? And again, I couldn't imagine doing anything else because I know how beautiful of a life it's been able to give me. And I know how beautiful of a life it can give other people. 10, 20, 30 years from now, I will still be doing the exact same thing. It'll probably look a lot different. It'll be way more integrated with AI. Great. I'll adapt. And so will you. And that's the thing that I think most people don't have, is the willingness to do something for long enough, because it sounds absolutely psychotic. And I am that level of psychotic where I want to do this for so long because I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And it is my literal obsession, everything that I do. Like, whether it's working with clients that I work with, of obsessing over, this video got 5 million views. How could it have gotten 10? Right? This video had 42-second watch time. Cool. How could it have been more? Like, when did people get bored? Like, it is my obsession. And I relate this to Mr. Beast, where he literally would spend 10,000 cumulative hours just sitting, watching videos, sitting, studying videos, making videos. I'm like, he's at a completely different level. But from the perspective of, that's the level that you can get to when you stick with something long enough. Yeah. When you do it for an extended period of time, even when you don't see anything, or even when there's plenty of times where you could quit and you don't, I think that's the one thing, is that, like, what's the alternative? Like, for me, fitness, like, I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life. Like, I'll be working out the rest of my life. Like, I couldn't imagine not doing it, right? I couldn't imagine not posting videos. I couldn't imagine not creating. I couldn't imagine a day. Like, I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't think of content. It is on my mind from the morning I wake up until I go to bed. I can't not think of it because it's my life, and I wouldn't want that any other way. And to your point where it's like, well, how do you balance like work-life balance? I don't. If I'm on vacation, I'm thinking of content. If I'm vacation, I'm probably like wanting to make a video. I'm probably thinking of how to script something. I'm analyzing, because that's just how my brain works, and I wouldn't want it any other way, Because if you want to do something that is exceptional, you have to be of the exception. And most people are going to have to be okay with you not going to the pool party, with you not going to the after party or the drinks on the weekend, or what like, again, there's a reason that people who are exceptional at what they do, they are a reason to the exception, because there is a certain level of obsession that you have to get to. There's a certain level of work that is required that most people are not willing to go through. And if that's what you want, that's what you want. If that's not what you want, then you have to be okay with that, and you have to be happy with that, and that has to be okay with you. For me, you know what's crazy, Mark? Like, I'm 29, and I'm like, I still wouldn't be a pediatrician yet. Like, if I had stayed on the course of being a doctor, I still wouldn't be a pediatrician, because I would have had to have gone through the pre-med, the med school, the residency, like all of these layers just to become a doctor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that felt so daunting. And let me be clear, if you want to become a doctor and that's for you, I love that. But just know that if that's not what's true in terms of your internal compass, and that's not what you really want, like, you have to ask yourself that. You at the end of the day have to answer to you. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, change it.
Well, if you are listening to this and you're wondering, how in the world do I get on the wait list for his awesome, I don't know if you call it an academy, if you call it, what do you call your just one video away? What's the gathering? What do you call it?
Yeah, it's called OVA. So it's my entire community, one video away community.
Yes. If you want to join the waitlist for his community, you can do that today. Just go to justonevideoaway.com. And I just cannot, number one, I should have asked you this at the beginning of the interview, because I want to call you Rico, because that's what your IG says. But yeah. Enrico is on, your government is on everything. So what do you prefer people call you?
Rico's cool.
Okay. So Rico feels like you're everybody's friend. So if you want to learn more about Rico, I encourage you to go to justonevideoaway.com. Thank you so much, Rico, for joining me. It really was refreshing to connect the person that I met on Instagram to the story that you shared today. And I wholeheartedly believe somebody who's watching this today, they're not only going to learn about what they can do to scale their business, but they're going to see how they can set up their life to be one that's fulfilling. And and number one, even for me, I picked up some gems along the way with you just sharing your story today that I feel like are going to just set me up for my best years yet. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And to the person listening or watching this, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, because that is the one thing that I will always underscore, is that your time and attention is so valuable, and you spending even 30 seconds with us is super valuable. So thank you. And I would also love, whatever the biggest takeaway was that you got from Mark and I, shoot Mark a message, shoot myself a message, because I'd love to hear what your biggest takeaway was.
Yes. Thanks, Rico.
Thank you.